Hey everyone, it's Chelsea from Tome, and today I will be reviewing The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. So, I really did like the book. I won't be giving any spoilers away, so don't worry if you haven't read it yet. But one reason I really liked it is the way it made me feel while I was reading it. I was excited, anxious, panicked almost. However, I didn't really think about it much after I finished the whole book. It didn't have a lot to offer afterwards, but while I was reading it, it was great. I couldn't wait to turn the page and continue on with Rachel's story, who is our main narrator. I was always hungry for more. So that was one really great thing about it, is that it was a really quick read. I read it in probably 2 days, which is really fast for me, and that says a lot in my book. So Hawkins gives us 3 different narrators to read from, and the main one is Rachel, who has some problems with alcohol, which makes her super unreliable, but I really like unreliable narrators. I guess I'm a sucker for them. I really enjoyed reading Rachel's account, even though it was not trustworthy at all. I like not knowing what's real, what's fake. Is this true? Did that really happen? I love not knowing until the very end. So Rachel was okay for me, but a lot of people really disliked unreliable narrators. It's really, up to the reader to decide. All 3 narrators are women, and they almost have an indistinguishable voice, which is a bit frustrating. I don't know if Hawkins did it on purpose, but when you can't really tell who's who unless you look at the chapter heading, that bothers me. I like my characters to be different, even if they are supposed to have more in common than most people are generally. So all 3 characters are a hot mess, which makes their lives really interesting to read about. It's kind of like that drama that you see on Facebook that you're so intrigued by and you want to just keep reading and knowing more and more about this person, but you feel so sorry for them. Especially Rachel, whose problems stem from her abusing alcohol, and she just can't seem to shake it. So her problems with alcohol cause her to have blackouts, which, a lot of people do have when they drink a lot or really heavily. And because of these blackouts, she tends to forget memories, and she has to rely on other people to fill in the gap for her. And Hawkins kind of allows us to fill in those gaps too, which is really fun, and it makes it really suspenseful. But since she has to have all these other people fill in the gaps for her, or just continue to wonder, when something really crazy happens and she doesn't really have an account for it, she's kind of in a bad position. So that's kind of where our story is going. Something bad happens. She witnesses it, kind of, but she can't really remember what's going on. So we're left to fill in the blanks. So Hawkins' writing style is really easy to follow. It has a nice flow to it. It's very purposeful. She doesn't leave a lot of details just hanging about that don't really serve a purpose. You can tell in the end what details were there to distract you and what you should have really been paying attention to, and that's really nice. I like to know that my authors have a lot of purpose when they're writing and that they have a plan. But up until the moment where we find out who did it, Rachel is really giving us a sort of stream of conscious account of what was going on with just a little bit of dialogue here and there. And that's what adds to her unreliability, I guess. And most of the time, I hate stream of consciousness, but I think that Hawkins did a good job with that. After we figure out who did it, officially who did it, the turn of events took a strange turn that I really didn't expect, and that I don't really know if I was happy about it or not. I guess I left feeling a little bit indifferent. I had an inkling of what had happened and who had done it, maybe 50 pages before we actually find out who did it, which isn't super far before, so it wasn't a huge shock to me, but it did get me just a little bit, especially the very ending. So my final rating for The Girl on the Train would have to be a 4 out of 5 stars. It lacked that perfection that I seek when I'm giving out a 5-star rating, but it was really good, and it did keep me really entertained, which is so important. I would recommend it for crime solvers, mystery addicts, but definitely not for kids. Maybe thrill seekers, but it's really not for kids. It just had a few instances where I would feel uncomfortable if I were a teenager. Go check us out on tomeraidersblog.wordpress.com. We hope to hear from you, and hopefully you'll be hearing from us again soon.